Okay, so you pull up your computer here, and the first thing I see is a signature from Sam Altman. Can you tell us the story behind that?
I think about 2 years ago, I was like super introverted. I was still at Stanford before dropping out. I felt like I wasn't as confident as it could be. I did this challenge where every single day for that month, I try to get rejected. So I try to hear no. It really changed my life because a lot of people, when they try to ask for things, they either hear yes and get what they want, they hear no and they're like upset, or they don't do anything. For me, I was like, if I don't get rejected, I need to like do a punishment. And so that was what this led to. I try to think outside the box, like what's something that I can do with my newfound confidence. So I just waited there. He came out and I was like, hey, can you sign my laptop? And he's like, yeah, sure. And so he signed it for me.
Oh, interesting. What was your ask for Garry?
Oh, so he came to speak at Stanford, and we were all just sitting in an auditorium waiting for him to show up. And he came and he sat in the front. He was a little early. And I said, what's stopping me from going and sitting up in the front right next to him? Like, it's kind of an unwritten rule, but it's not a written one. So worst thing that happens is I get rejected. And at the end of it all, after his speech, he went into a side room. He gave like a small talk to a smaller group of people. And I was talking to him and I was telling him about this rejection challenge. And he said, what kind of things do you ask for? I said, for example, could you add me on LinkedIn right now? And he's like, oh shit, is this a Psyop? Is this like a mind game that you do? And he said, what do you want to do when you graduate? And he said, I want to work on startups. He said, if that's what you want to do, don't even apply to Apple and Google. Don't even wait for them to tell you no. Don't even apply. Because if you have no plan B, plan A has to work.
All right. Welcome, everybody. We got a very special guest today. We've got Allen Naliath, the founder and CEO of Friday.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining. We're doing a very special Startup Growth podcast session with QVC for B2B SaaS. So we're excited to learn more about Allen and Friday and do a demo and offer a very special deal for everybody who's watching right now. So, okay, so you pull up your computer here, and the first thing I see is a signature from Sam Altman. Can you tell us the story behind that?
This is kind of crazy. I think about 2 years ago, I was like super introverted. I was still at Stanford before dropping out, and I felt like I wasn't as confident as it could be. So I did this challenge where every single day for that month, I try to get rejected. So I try to hear no. And it really changed my life because a lot of people, when they try to ask for things, they either hear yes and get what they want, they hear no, and they're like upset, or they don't do anything, which is usually the default option that most of them take. For me, I was like, if I don't get rejected, I need to like do a punishment. So take a cold shower or ask someone out on a date, which at the time was terrifying for me. Mm-hmm. So I would ask people for things over and over again, keep hearing yeses, because people actually really want to help you out. And so no became actually kind of hard to get. And I have to ask for more and more audacious things. And once I finally hear the no, I'm like relieved because the day's done, the challenge is done for the day, and I can just relax. So I was actually more excited to hear no than yes. And the cool thing is, it's like a big mindset shift where now if I ask for something, I either get what I want or I get something better by hearing no. So most people, their win condition is based on the other person saying yes. For me, yes and no are both win. So the win condition's in my control just by asking.
So what would you do when someone says no?
It'd be fine. Internally, it'd be like, yes, like, let's go. So
you kind of change your, like, instead of, expecting,
because let's say we're at dinner. I would be like, okay, I haven't heard no yet. It's like 7:30. I would ask the waiter, can I get a tour of your kitchen? And like 60% of the time they would say yes. And I'd be like, damn, I gotta, it's going to be like 10 p.m. and I have to figure out something. But sometimes it's say no. And I'd be like, okay, good. Like finally it's done. It hurts in the beginning, but it became like really easy to bear later on. And so I started to think, okay, wait, if I'm really struggling to hear no's and I'm getting yeses all the time, what if I ask for things that are actually really hard to get? So the win-win is huge. Either I get exactly what I want or I knock out the challenge immediately. And so that was what this led to. I think Sam Altman came to speak at Stanford. And I was like, okay, what's a way that I can actually like go and talk to him? So I went to some security guys and asked them, hey, is Sam Altman coming out of this? And they're like, we can't tell you that. And I was like, you gave me my answer. So I try to think outside the box, like what's something that I can do with my newfound confidence. And I basically like figured out where he would go. I saw a shopping cart or not shopping cart, golf cart, my bad. That would like take him away after his speech. So I just waited there. He came out and I was like, hey, could you sign my laptop? And he's like, yeah, sure. And so he signed it for me. I met a lot of people this way.
Wow.
Some really, because there's so many talented people, so many big names like Sundar Pichai. I almost met Mark Zuckerberg. Sam Altman multiple times. It's actually how I first met Garry Tan, and it's why I ended up in YC. He came to also speak at Stanford.
Oh, interesting. What was your ask for Garry?
Oh, so he came to speak at Stanford, and we were all just sitting in an auditorium waiting for him to show up. And he came and he sat in the front. He was a little early. And I said, what's stopping me from going and sitting up in the front right next to him? Like, it's kind of an unwritten rule, but it's not a written one. So worst thing that happens is I get rejected. Like, in fact, actually, that's probably the best thing that happens. So I went up to him and I sat down. I took a picture with him. I said, hey, tell me a little bit about YC. And I asked him a few questions. And at the end of it all, after his speech, we went into a side room. He gave like a small talk to a smaller group of people. And I was talking to him and I was telling him about this rejection challenge. And he said, what kind of things do you ask for? I said, for example, could you add me on LinkedIn right now? He's like, oh shit, is this a Psyop? Is this like a mind game that you do? Which is such a Garry response. But he's like, you know what? Sure, I'll add you on LinkedIn. Everybody's like shocked. They're like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe this guy got away with asking that.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing led to another. I ended up going to his house a few months later from that request. I met Peter Thiel there, which was super special. But yeah, I'm the most confident person in Silicon Valley. I call myself that. And there's almost nothing I'm afraid of.
That's amazing, man.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward, you meet Garry, you meet Sam, you get his autograph, you meet Garry, you get into YC.
Yeah.
Did you get into YC with the idea for Friday Mail? Let's start there.
Yeah.
Like, what was your idea when you first applied to YC, and how did it become Friday?
Yeah, so I was at Stanford for 3 years. So I finished my junior year and I was in my junior summer. And junior summer is important because that's the internship you want that will land you your full-time offer. But I talked to a founder while I was still at Stanford, and I told him, I've worked at a bunch of different companies. I like it, but I kind of want to explore startups. I really enjoy the idea of it. I love working on my own projects. I feel like my internships that I've loved the most were the closest to a startup kind of workflow. And so I told him, okay, I'm only going to apply to Apple and Google because those are companies I've never worked at and I thought would be really cool to work at. And if that doesn't work, I'll work on my own company. And he said, sticks me to this day. He said, what do you want to do when you graduate? And I said, I want to work on startups. And he said, if that's what you want to do, don't even apply to Apple and Google. Don't even wait for them to tell you no. Don't even apply. Because if you have no plan B, plan A has to work. And I was like, I like that. And also prevents me from having to go through the whole recruiting cycle. And so, I said, you know what? I'm committing to it this summer. I'm just going to work on my own ideas and see what happens. And I took a hackathon project that I worked on, which was something to organize my email inbox by order of priority, which is an interesting concept. If I have like 100 emails and I only have time for 10, sort them in order of priority and get done with them. But I realized that I still have to go through all my emails anyway, so that doesn't actually help. I want to build something that makes it faster. And so we built the first version of Friday. It was a mobile app that you could text and say, hey, answer these emails. What are my last 5 emails? It was a pretty cool idea. It was basically chat with your email. And people used it alongside their existing email client. And so eventually we were like, why don't we provide an email client? So we built our own email client. And then people were like, it's really cool, but an email client's hard. To get like feature parity with Gmail or Superhuman or something, it takes a lot of time and effort. And then I was like, we could just integrate with Gmail. So I built a Chrome extension that gives all of our AI email client features and just adds them to Gmail. And that's what the product is today.
Wow. And so how do you use Friday today?
So there's 2 main features. As you can see right here, you have an assistant that predicts what you want to do with each email. And then you have a chat, which is essentially Cursor for Gmail. I actually was really inspired by the Cursor user experience. In Cursor, it gives you lines of code and you can just press tab, tab, tab and approve each line of code one by one. We want to do the same thing for email. We wanted something that wasn't exactly just a chat, because I feel like if you just threw a chat like Gmail did with the Gemini one, and you could just tell it what to do, that's lazy. That's slow. That's slower than if I were to archive emails manually. So I can show you right here with my emails.
Let's jump into the demo.
With my emails, there are like buttons next to all of my emails that predict what I want to do. So these invitations, for example, I can just click them and they're gone. Or if I click into the email, say, okay, this is a calendar invitation. You don't need to reply. Just press enter and it's gone. You just press enter, 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 enter.
Is that archive? Oh, nice.
And they're being archived. So
wow. So you have inbox zero like every day.
It's actually, I try not to get to inbox zero because then I can't test the product, but it's hard. So sometimes I let emails build up intentionally, but yeah, right now, like we're going to go through this so quickly. And there's like unsubscribe too, which was a feature I really liked from Superhuman, where you can press Command U and just unsubscribe from something. I unfortunately do need this. I've already unsubscribed from all my spam, but you can just go really quickly through all these.
Can you undo?
You can press undo right here. It's the native Gmail functionality. And if you,
nice, yeah,
if you archive something, it's in your like all mail. If you go to like not drafts, all mail right here, like it'll still be in there, you know. And so this is an email I sent to myself when I was testing our chat feature, which I'll show you in a second. Like might be a little bit of a preview. But the cool thing is, notice how I send this email to like a test account. And so it says, this is a sent email from 4 days ago with no response yet, suggesting a follow-up, which I think is also really cool. So if you just press enter, you like put the response in there. Hey, following up on this. Cool. You just send that out and then press enter to archive.
Wow.
So that's, I think, where most of the time save is. When you get an email, it learns from your style, your voice, how long you write emails. Like we can look at that email, that follow-up, like, hey, just following up on this, still down, grab lunch, let me know what works for you. That's exactly what I would say. It doesn't sound super AI. And it even use the short dash versus the long M dash.
Right.
Which is the dash.
The long M dash is the AI.
Yeah, that's the one that
which I used to love. But now it looks like AI is writing all my shit.
But you gotta cut it out. So for example, this person, I think it's like some cold outbound. So if I press enter, it'll say, hey, thanks for reaching out. I'd love to learn more about what you're building. Cool. So just ask for like some more questions. Let's say I want to say like, actually, I'm more excited about this. Tell him yes enthusiastically. And it'll just like
interesting. Was there a shortcut to pull up that little?
That's always there.
That's always there. So you just there. Wow.
There we go. Right. So now it goes like, yes, I'd love to chat. What times work best for you? Happy to work around your schedule. Again, exactly what kind of thing I'd say. Versus like, this is cold outbound. I don't want to see. Tell him not interested. And you can do like whatever you really want. You could say, I want to translate this to Chinese, or this is exactly the kind of email I'd send if I'm not interested.
Wow. So, okay. So this is pretty cool. I think I need to use this. How do you see, like, what are the best practices for emails, especially as a founder who's getting a ton of emails? Like, do you block time once a day? Do you, how do you recommend, what are best practices for inbox management?
Let's look at, actually, let me respond to you. So you booked a call with me. I said no because it got added to 2 calendars, but I'm here. Don't worry. If I press reply, it'll send a regular reply. I probably wouldn't send this so that's why I suggested archive. It's just a calendar invite. But let's say I want to reply, I'll put a reply in there, which looks great. If I send that out, here's the main way we think about emails on Friday. You wanna empty your inbox every single day. So what are the reasons people keep emails in their inbox? The main one is like, oh, I got to deal with this later, or I'm waiting for a response, or I'm just holding this in there so I can like store it, for example. And the biggest thing I like to say is if you've sent an email and you want a response, you want to snooze the email. So you can go in here, press snooze, and I'll say, okay, I want to make sure David gets back to me. In this case, not true, but let's assume. So I might snooze it for like tomorrow morning. And so if you don't get back to me, that email will pop up to the top of my inbox. And because it popped up, you saw what Friday did. It said, oh, this is an email from like two days ago, you should probably follow up, and it will follow up for you. And it's so easy because it's just like enter, command, enter.
Can you put your email, or what are your thoughts on putting your email like fully on autopilot, where you just let Friday make the decision of what to send?
You can. Let's like look at this. Notion's hosting an event. So if I press enter, yeah, this is actually true. I think it knows that I have a flight on November 11th. It's seen that, so it said, I can't make it, which is actually accurate. So I can send that up. The thing is, though, you could have Friday be on full autopilot, but look how quickly I was able to deal with that email. Only like a second or two. The whole way Friday is designed is not to be on autopilot, because I don't think people want that. I think that induces anxiety in a lot of people. Instead, it gets you to 99% of the way. So if I was here and I go like, boom, boom, send that, archive it, boom, 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 done.
Wow.
That was 1 day's worth of email. And like, it took a while because I was explaining it, but I could have gone through all the email for the day, which was like 30 emails in like 60 seconds.
Wow. So
you don't need it to be on autopilot. It just goes so unbelievably fast.
I love it. That's pretty incredible. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, of course.
So, okay. So where can we find you? Where can we find Friday? How can we get started? Well, tell us about this deal.
Yeah. You can head to friday.so. So friday.so, and you'll be taken here. There's like a demo video that you can check out, but, just press sign in there. Use code FONDO when you check out. We charge $20 a month. You get $90 off. So it's just $2 to get started with email.
Great deal.
Yeah. Because imagine how much time you could save, like if you're working minimum wage, if this saves you like 20 minutes, you made your money back. Given that the average person spends like 2 hours in their email, look how quickly I was able to go through my email. I probably saved like 30 minutes here.
I would love my inbox to look like this.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
So I do onboardings personally. So when people sign up, I just onboard them myself. They book a time and I get them to this state after every onboarding in like 10 minutes. Even if you have like 18,000 emails, because there's stuff you can do to archive all of your old emails automatically. And it'll just like anything older than like a month, get rid of it. And then the final month of emails, you could just spam.
Pretty incredible. All right, everybody. So go to friday.so.
Okay. Oh, one more feature though. I forgot. The chat right here. We've kind of hijacked the Gemini chat that Google has because it was kind of lame. Unfortunately, I have no more emails to deal with, but I could say like, how about this? David J. Phillips from Bondo is interested in Friday. Look him up. Look him up online, find his email in my inbox, and send him an intro. Or how about draft him an intro? I'll just cook.
Wow.
This is something that's like in beta. It is out. So, if you go to here, you can try it out. I'll onboard you. I'll give you beta access to this. I want this to be like Cursor, where you can like say, you can add a thread, or you can say, I got 50 investors that reached out to me. Take these instructions for how to deal with one email and just apply it to all 50 and just create 50 drafts. And then you can go like, okay, send from the chat itself. Cool. Has the email. Here we go. Here's a draft. Love it. Send it out.
Wow.
The other thing people should get in the habit of once you send it, right? I think I mentioned this, but snooze it for like till Saturday. I don't know. So.
Wow. Love it. All right. So go to friday.so, get started, get 90% off for $2 a month.
Yeah.
You could be like Allen and have inbox zero every single day.
Try it out. Make every day feel like Friday.
Let's go. We have this huge gong here.
Love it.
I hope everybody can see this. Let's go. One ring for Friday.
Yeah.
Fondo.com, the all-in-one accounting platform for startups.